Hello everyone, welcome to our Crystal Grid video series. Okay, so this will be a series of videos wherein we will be creating different kinds of crystal grids. Before we start, I'd like to give a short introduction regarding crystal grids. Why do we create crystal grids? Well, crystal grids are usually created in order to manifest certain things. It can also be created as a sort of like a protection. Now, for this video, we will be manifesting energy, confidence, creativity, and vitality. Okay. Energy. Okay, why are we going to manifest energy? If you are feeling a little low energetically at this time, or if you usually feel drained at the end of the day, creating this crystal grid can help you energize yourself. Okay. It can also be used, for example, if you feel a little bit there's a need for you to develop self-confidence. You can also use this crystal grid for developing self-confidence. You can also use this crystal grid to enhance your creativity. If, for example, you have a resolution right now to embark yourself into a physical activity like yoga or going to the gym, you can use this crystal grid to augment your vitality, to help you maintain that resolve in your health project. Okay, something like that. Now, the crystal grid can also be a reminder, because every time you see the crystal grid, for example, you place the crystal grid in your room, you are reminded of what you are manifesting. So for today, we will create a crystal grid with the intention of manifesting energy, confidence, creativity, and vitality. Now, crystal grids are usually putting into combination or applying two important things. One is applying a certain geometric pattern, which is part of the sacred geometry, and putting the crystals or arranging healing crystals or even stones into that geometric pattern. For this video, we will be using the geometric pattern of the seed of life. This is the seed of life. The seed of life is actually part of a big complex geometric pattern again, which is called the flower of life. Now, this one is the nucleus, or the one at the center of the flower of life. So this is what we're going to use, the geometric pattern that we are going to use. Now, we can have a platform like this one, and you can put it there, and then on top you can put the crystals. But you can also create the crystals without any pattern below them. The important thing is that you are able to arrange the crystals based on the geometric pattern that you have. Now, this pattern will help you somehow remind you of the kind of geometric pattern that you're going to use. But you can either have one like this or without any geometric pattern. You can place it here like this one. Now, the reason why I have a board here, a wooden board, is for practical purposes. Now, the beautiful thing about it is the wood is made of nature, of natural material, but at the same time it's portable. You can easily move the crystal grid, especially when it's been for more than a month in one place. In order to cleansing the area, you can easily move the crystals. At the same time, with this pattern here, you can move the crystals and then you can clean the board. So for practical purposes, it's good to have a board that is mobile, you can easily move, so that it's easier for you to maintain the crystals. Okay. Now, so this is the first one. This is the sacred geometry that we use, and then we will be using some crystals here. Now, when you look at the crystals, there are two types of crystals that we are going to use for today. One crystal is the Carnelian, and then the other crystal is the clear quartz. Now, there are three roles here for these crystals. The Carnelian is what we're going to use as a central stone. The other crystals, like this clear quartz, we use as supporting stones. So these are the two main roles that the crystals will have: a central stone and a supporting stone. Now there's a third stone here we call as activating wand. Now the activating wand is you can have it or you don't have to have it, because you can activate the crystals even without an activating wand. But for this video, we're going to use a clear quartz in order to activate the crystals when they have already been placed in the grid. Now, so we have two parts, the base and the healing crystals or stones. Now, we can use stones also. In my opinion, aside from crystals, we can also use stones. That is why in some of our videos, instead of using crystals, we will be using stones. Now, it can be debatable with other people, but in my opinion, stones are just like crystals. They transmit energy from the earth. Actually, when we ground ourselves to the earth, and part of that earth are stones and minerals and crystals. So for our video series, there will be moments where we will be using crystals, and there will be moments where we will be using stones, because oftentimes crystals are also expensive. There are times also that crystals are costly, and we can use stones that we encounter along the way, especially when you go and get in touch with nature. There are certain stones that resonates with you. And later on, when we do that video regarding the use of stones, we will explain a little bit more on the importance of stones resonating with you. Just as these crystals, it's good to use crystals that resonate with you. Now, this architecture or this pattern that we're going to create right now is one of the many ways that you can create the crystal grids. Now, you will have to develop your own way of creating a pattern that is effective for you. So it will be based on your intuition, based on your experience also, which kind of pattern in the grid that is very effective in your situation, and also the availability of the stones or crystals will also determine the crystal grid. So the availability of the stones, even the shape of the stones, like for example, this is a stumble stone. Here is a double terminated crystal wherein both ends are pointed. Now, this one is a crystal point wherein only one end is pointed and the other is not. So you can also even use unpolished stones. So it depends on the availability. It depends also on what crystal intuitively resonates with you and what crystals are available for you. Now, depending also on your intentions, you can use alternatives. So, for example, we are going to use these crystals at this time, but if it's not available for you, you can always use alternatives. Alternatives in a sense that they have similar characteristics as the Carnelian and also the quartz. Or sometimes, even if they don't have the similar characteristics, similar colors, because the colors also determine the characteristics of the stones. So always remember, there is no hard and fast rule on how to create a crystal grid. There are other factors that will consider it, like for example, your intentions based on your intuition. So feel free to experiment, feel free to modify what we're going to make. So these are the things that you need to consider. Now, we will now go to the process on how to create the crystal grid. So for this crystal grid, we have two kinds of stones. We have here the carnelian, which will serve as our central stone, and then this double terminated crystals will be our supporting stones. And finally, we will be using a clear quartz, also a pointed crystal quartz, as our activating wand. But as I said, the activating wand is optional, because you can activate the crystals even without an activating wand. So let's now go to the process of creating the crystal grid. We will start first by making a short definition of the seed of life. Now, the seed of life is one of the sacred geometric patterns that are usually used for crystal grids. Now, the geometric patterns usually symbolize those architecture or patterns that is common in the whole of creation, or the whole of the universe, the whole of nature. Now, you see here with the seed of life, one of the general pattern is that of a circle. Here, the circle is a symbolism of completeness and many other things. Now, another sacred pattern here is this lens-like shape. This one. This lens-like shape, which can symbolize also, which can also be, we can see also in nature, like for example, the passageway for birth, the passageway for life, so like that. So when you look at this seed of life, there are two general pattern that we have. We have here a circle, and then the lens-like or vesicle-like pattern. Now, when you look at it, actually, the seed of life consists of 7 circles. There is one circle at the middle, and it is surrounded by 6 other circles. So, 6 circles in the sides or surrounding a big circle, and the interlapping of the circle creates this lens-like shape here, which actually, when you look at it, looks like a flower pattern. So this is the seed of life, which is a sacred geometric pattern, and this is what we're going to use as a pattern for the placement of our crystals. Now we will go to a short definition of the carnelian crystal, because somehow this will be used as our center stone. And the center stone usually is the one that somehow creates the main energy of the crystal grid. So we are going to read a short description of the carnelian, so that we can orient ourselves with the carnelian as the crystal that we're going to use. And I am going to use this book, which is Crystals, the Modern Guide for Crystal Healing, by Yulia van Doren. She's also the owner of Goldie Rocks. No? And she has a good description for the carnelian. And this is what I'm going to read to you right now, so that you can understand why we decided to use the carnelian in order to manifest energy, confidence, creativity, and vitality. So I will be reading the description right now. And it says here, smoke alert. Carnelian gets inner fires burning, hot and bright. Okay. Fire-colored carnelians gifts lie in igniting, energizing flames under you in a myriad of magical ways. Lacking the energy and focus to bring your creative daydreams into reality? Use carnelian. Okay. Could your confidence as vibrant, sexy creature use a major boost? use carnelian. Okay. Bedroom activities need some new spice, use carnelian. This crystal makes a great gift for people preparing for or healing from a major physical accomplishment. For example, childbirth, surgery, marathon, etc. And also very helpful for energizing more modest physical goals. For example, finally committing to that exercise routine. Bring carnelian to the gym for a pocket-sized personal trainer who will always encourage you to do your very best. Carnelian is immune boosting, so keep it close during cold and flu season. And little pieces kept in kitchen cupboards and fridges are great for adding extra vitality to your food. Prized by everyone from the ancient Egyptians to Napoleon for good reason. Add some carnelian into your life and get ready to shine brightly. Now, the carnelian is a crystal that is used for the sacral chakra, the root chakra, and also the solar plexus chakra. As we know, the solar plexus is related to our inner fire. That is why right now we are going to manifest energy and vitality. Well, this is a crystal for the solar plexus, so it's a good one. Okay. Also self-confidence, for confidence. Now, the sacral chakra is related to creativity. So if we would like to manifest creativity, this is also used. So when you look at the carnelian, it is a crystal that supports the three lower chakras, the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and also the root chakra. Now, our supporting stones will be the clear quartz. The clear quartz has a characteristic of enhancing the effect of the other crystals. So this is like it magnifies the energy of the other crystals. So when you put the crystal quartz together with the carnelian, it magnifies the effect of the carnelian. At the same time also, this one somehow energizes stagnant energy. So in a certain sense, having a crystal quartz in your crystal grid will somehow in a certain sense maintain the crystal grids to have it sort of energizes also the crystal grids because it energizes stagnant energy around the area. So in a certain sense, this is also not only energizing the crystal, but also energizing the area where it is present. So in a certain sense, this one is a very, very good stone to accompany the carnelian in creating our crystal grid for us to manifest energy, confidence, creativity, and vitality. Now that we have described the crystals and we have described already the seed of life geometric pattern, we will now go to the process of creating this crystal grid. So what we are going to do now is the activation. Okay, we start with the activation. Why? Whenever we use a crystal, we assign to it a certain role. And because crystals have memories, if, for example, you design this crystal for protection, well, this crystal will retain that role of being a crystal for protection until you tell that crystal, I set you free from that kind of responsibility. Now, it's good to, before you use them for the crystal grid, to remove or erase whatever role that they have had in the previous, in the past, so that when they enter and do the function of this specific function of being part of the crystal grid, you free them from the previous programming so that they will just be dedicated to the purpose of functioning in the crystal grid. So this is what we will do first. So right now, we're just going to talk to the crystals and tell them, dear brother, sister crystals, I now free you from whatever previous role that you have had, and I free you from all of them. I erase all those previous programming that you have had in the past. Now you are free from any responsibilities in order to prepare you for this new role. So all we have to do is to deactivate the crystals by asking them, I free you, or by telling them, I free you from previous commitments or responsibilities that you might have had. Okay, so we have already deactivated the crystals. Now the second part is cleansing. Now there are many ways of cleansing crystals. We can use incense, we can use a singing bowl, or even a bell, or we can even use visualization. For this video, we're going to cleanse the crystal by using a singing bowl. We now go to the third part, which is consecrating and programming. Okay. We would like to ask your blessings, Divine Spirit, to consecrate these crystals, this background sacred geometric pattern, and also this board, so that they will be able to be of service for the betterment of my person, and also to whomever will enter this room. And I now go to the programming. I would like to program these crystals, this geometric pattern, and this board in order to have the function of this crystal grid that will promote energy, confidence, creativity, and vitality. Now we will be setting up the grid. So for our central stone, we will be placing the carnelian. And then it will be supported by the supporting crystals, which are our clear quartz. We have 6 clear quartz. We are going to place it at the intersection here, at the intersections of the circles. Okay. Now, as you can see, it has formed sort of like a flower-like pattern. And when you look at it, the tip is somehow pointed towards the carnelian and also pointed outwards. So this is the pattern that we have. Now we will be activating the grid. For this video, we're going to use this crystal, pointed crystal, clear quartz, in order to activate the crystal grid. So we first point at the central stone, and then we create a line outwards, connect the other 2 supporting stones, and go back again to the carnelian. Then we create another pattern like that, go back to the carnelian. We are now activating. Have that intention that as I do this pattern, my intention is to activate all these crystals, to interconnect them so that they will be able to perform the role that we intend them to do. So now that we have activated the crystals, all you have to do is to place them in an area where you can see them and you will be reminded. Now, how long are you going to use the crystal grid? As long as you need them. For example, you can actually have them constantly with you. If, for example, you need it to constantly remind you of, to constantly help you develop that self-confidence. If you easily get tired every end of the day, you can have this grid operating constantly. So maintenance, how do we maintain this grid? You can clean the area and the grid at least once a month, depending also. Sometimes you can clean it a little bit more often if you feel that you are easily drained you have become easily drained. No? So it will depend on your needs also. If you feel that the effectiveness of the grid is getting weaker, you can cleanse it again and then again reactivate it. Now, important, once you've finished the use of this grid, you need to deactivate it, just like the first method that we did. That way, you will be freeing the crystals of the role that you have assigned them, in order that you will be able to use them more effectively in other ways that you intend them to do. So, but at this time, we have already programmed them to take part or to function as members of the crystal grid. Well, I hope you were able to learn something from this video about creating crystal grids. Now, you can modify this pattern any which way you want. Okay, so after this one, I'm going to show you how it looks like without this pattern, because you can always maintain this crystal grid as with this kind of background, or even without this background. So you can also have a crystal grid without the sacred geometric background. You can create it this way, and all you have to do is to activate it just the way we did from the central stone. You go up there, activate it. So using this activating wand, you just interconnect them. Now they're activated and you can use this crystal grid. Well, thank you for being with me in this video, and thank you for the likes and comments you've given to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. I hope to see you again soon. Until that time, may God continue to bless your ways.